Hello, everyone. I hope everybody was able to get the material from yesterday about solving for an angle. Today, you're gonna be using like all the things we've learned with trigonometry, kind of putting them together. But we're going to do it to word problems, and a lot of the times you're going to have to draw a picture in these. So, anyways, the first thing I'm going to focus on is doing writing SOHCAHTOA at the top. Okay, so you're going to need that for all the bottom problems, okay, on this page. Okay, the first thing I'm going to start talking about our lesson today, it's going to be about the angle of elevation and the angle of depression. And so the angle, I'm going to start by starting with the angle of elevation. So if you look at the one on the right, I'm going to look at that one. And so the angle of elevation is you're a person on the ground and you're looking up at something in the air. Well, when you look up, it creates an angle with the ground, okay? And so we call this the angle of elevation because you're looking up. So if you think about like elevation, it's, how high something is, right? So angle of elevation means you're looking up at something, so it creates this angle, and thus you can create a right triangle here. And then now you can use SOHCAHTOA here to solve for the missing sides, okay? Next one is the angle of depression. The idea behind angle of depression is you're looking down at something, okay? You're up in the air maybe, or up on a cliff, you're looking down, and there's an angle that it makes horizontally, okay, with something. And so this now creates this angle of depression. And if you think angle of depression is like, you're depressed, you're down low, you're not feeling good. Well, that's the kind of the same concept as I'm looking down in something. Okay, so I call it the angle of depression. But this is the good thing about the angle of depression. The angle of depression, okay, is the same thing actually as the angle of elevation. And the reason is you have right here, these are called alternate interior angles. I hope you guys recall that from the past that we've learned that. So now the angle of depression really down below is the angle of elevation, and now I can draw a triangle. So remember, the angle of depression is the same as the angle of elevation. Okay? So thus you go from there to solve. So now we're going to put a little practice to what I just showed you using our angle of elevation or angle depression, okay? So if I look at this picture, I have an airplane. He's probably trying to go in that direction, okay? And so he looks like he's looking down at the trees, okay? So if you guys think about it, what kind of angle am I looking up here that's 26? Well, if you're looking down at something, it's going to be called your angle of depression. But the angle of depression is also the same as the angle of elevation. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to put my 25 or 26 over here. Sorry, I have to say 26 over here because it's the same as this one up here, because these are alternate interior angles. Okay, so from here, now I can concentrate on the altitude, which is over here, and I'm going to focus on this one triangle now, okay, which is what we did the other day. But here you go, here's a triangle. And so I look at the side measures compared to the triangle, and I notice that the x is opposite, and notice that the 7 is the hypotenuse. Okay, so from here I'm going to now use my SOHCAHTOA saying, okay, SOHCAHTOA, TOA. From here, I'm going to take, look at the 26 and look at the sine in relationship to it. And I notice that x is opposite. Okay. And that's hypotenuse. Okay. I think I already had that there. Anyways, from here, I'm going to say, now opposite hypotenuse is sine. Okay. So I go sine 26 equals, okay, opposite over hypotenuse, which is x over 7. So from there, now I'm going to multiply. If you remember our saying, if it's up high, you multiply. So I'm going to move that 7 over. So this becomes 7 sine 26 equals x. Okay, so if I plug that into my handy dandy calculator, 7 times the sine of 26 equals 3.1 about. All right, if we go to the other problem, okay, it looks like they actually gave us the angle of elevation. And so from here, I notice that 95 is opposite. Okay, and the one that we're missing is we want to know how far is the person away from the base of the building. So, how far are they from the base of the building? So the bottom part is x. Okay, so right now I have an opposite, and I have an adjacent. Okay, and from there I'm going to use my SOHCAHTOA. Okay. Opposite over adjacent, so it'd be TOA. Okay, so from here now I go tangent of 32 equals, okay, 95 over x. Okay, from here, okay, you're gonna have to now switch spots. So if x is down low, you switch, so right here we're going to switch spots. Okay, so we get x equals, okay, why is that slow? But anyways, 95 over the tangent of 32. Okay, and so when I plug it in, go 95 divided by the tangent of 32. Okay. No. 35 divided by 32 tangent equals about 152. Okay. There's your answer. All right, let's move on to the back of this page, and we'll solve a couple of problems, and then you're going to have some problems on your own. Okay. All right, so if you flipped it over to the other side, you notice that you have some problems to do. So I'm going to do about 3 of them with you, and then you're going to have about 3 problems on your worksheet to do. Okay, so it says, oh, before I read this, you make sure you're careful about what you read. Make sure you draw pictures. You definitely need it for this section to draw pictures. Okay, what is the height of the tower if point P is 120 feet from the base? So what is the height of the tower? So draw your right triangle. Okay, what is the height of the triangle if point P is 120 feet from the base of the tower? So 120. And the measure of the angle of elevation to the top of the tower is 75. So they said angle of elevation, I'm going to go over here in this corner, and I'm going to put 75. Okay, so from there, 75 is our reference angle. And we're going to label the sides opposite. And adjacent. So from here, I'm going to use tangent of 75. I wasn't supposed to do that. Okay. Equals x over 120. Okay. And from here, x is a pi, we end up multiplying. So I go x equals 5 tangent. Sorry. X equals 120. Tangent of 75. And I get a grand total of 120 times tangent 75. Okay. Come on, calculator. So now when I multiply 120 times this tan of 75, I get about 32.1. Luke is 4 feet tall at the eye level. Oh, this is the one I crossed down on the paper. Okay, so if I go now down to C, it says Miguel looks out from the crown of the statue approximately 200 feet above, 50 feet above the ground. Okay. Luke is looking down from the crown. That's 250 above the ground. Okay. He sights a ship coming into the harbor and then measures the angle of depression. So remember, recalling that the angle of depression is actually the same thing as the angle of elevation. So we're going to follow the one that's the angle of elevation. Okay. And from there, it says find the distance from the base of the statue to the trip. To the ship, sorry. All asleep here. Okay, so it says round your answer to the nearest foot. Okay, so right now I notice I got an opposite. Okay, and I got an adjacent. Okay, so from there I'm going to do tangent of 18 equals, okay, 25 over x. Okay, you see x on bottom. Okay, x below, you switch, you know. So now we have x equals 25 over the tangent of 18. And that gives me a grand total of, clear, 25 divided by 18 tan equals, okay, so that gives me 76.9. That's that final answer right there. Okay, so now you know how to do an angle of depression one. Okay. Okay, so we're on the last problem now. It says a blimp is providing aerial television views of the football field. The television camera sights the stadium below. The blimp's altitude is 400 feet, and the line of sight distance from the TV camera to the stadium is 3,300 meters. Okay, I'm sorry, 400 meters from earlier. Okay, so from here, okay, I'm going to draw a triangle. Okay, now remember, angle of depression is very similar to angle of elevation. So I'm going to look at it as if it were the angle of elevation, even though it says angle of depression. Okay, so this 3,300 actually is the hypotenuse, because he's telling you that the sight distance from the TV to the stadium is going to be a diagonal. Okay, so then the altitude's 400. Okay, now we're going to say what is the measure of the angle? Okay. What is the measure of the angle there? So I'm going to use my SOHCAHTOA again. Now I have an opposite and hypotenuse. Okay. So from here, okay, I'm going to use sine. So I'll go sine. Okay. Of x equals 400 over 3,300. Okay. So now if I go to my calculator, okay, I don't know if this one does it or not. And I would sit there and calculate that out. And you make sure you press second sign on your calculator, like so, and plug in 400 over 3,300. And you should get an answer out of that. Now, I don't think my computer calculator here does it, so you're going to have to calculate it on your own. But that's how you do that problem. And the answer you get there is what your x value is going to be. Okay? So, not that bad of a problem. It's what we did yesterday in class, solving for the angle. So once you get that angle, you always have to press that second button to get this the sine, cosine, or tangent of it. Anyways, now I want you guys to do the other worksheet. I only want you to do 3 problems on it. It should be already crossed off with what the sub handed out. And please get that done and hand it in by the end of the period. Anyways, thank you guys, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, bye.